again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Free Thought Prophet. I am Seamus. He's the dyslexic seer of the third eye, the polyester priest, the chakraless shaman, and the killer of karma. He is Newt, or giant mammal.
So I think of all of those, I like the polyester priest best.
I knew you would like that one.
I might reuse that and claim that as my own, Seamus, if you don't mind.
Oh, I
Awfully.
bet you would, yeah.
Okay, so we should have good fun this evening. This is our first guest in a little while, and we're going to talk...
First guest in 2018.
In 2018, quite right. So we're going to talk with Jessica Schab, who is co-founder of the End of Fear Project, and Jessica is from Vancouver, Canada, and is a former spiritual speaker. After 10 years, she renounced her New Age metaphysical path when she understood how this was causing psychological harm and cognitive instability. She's now a speaker on rational thinking and exposes the dangerous patterns of spirituality. She's the manager for the EOF Project, the End of Fear Project, and is a prolific poetry writer and blogger, offering an inside look at the self-manipulation that often tends to come with some of these beliefs. And she's currently working on a feature-length documentary titled Memoirs of a Former Mystic. So that will be a fantastically interesting movie, I think. We've already talked to Catherine Dunphy about the Clergy Project, which relates to priests and pastors who have given up their former spiritual beliefs. But yes, this will be the first time I think we can talk to someone from the New Age movement who has followed a similar journey.
Yeah, I don't want to equate this to actually talking to Jesus if he gave up the cross, so to speak, but probably the closest we can get to it. So.
Yes, so I think that's fair.
And from what I've learned from not only corresponding and following her, she seems to be a much better person than Jesus. So
I certainly agree with that. I follow Jessica on Twitter and certainly recommend that anyone else who uses Twitter should do that. Yes, fully agreed. And let's get Jessica.
Okay. Welcome to the Free Thought Prophet, Jessica Schab.
Schab. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Of all the names on here that I usually butcher, you think that would be one that I wouldn't. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, it's actually pronounced ha, which you have to hawkanize in order to get it right. So, but Schab is the more elegant way to say it.
Very good. Well, I'll stick with Jessica if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's easier.
So listen, we've been looking forward to this for quite a while. Jessica, I mentioned to Seamus before that we've spoken to some people from the Clergy Project previously, Catherine Dunphy, and some others, which is a project for priests and pastors who have lost their religious faith and are now atheists. But we've never before had the opportunity to talk with someone who comes from a background in the New Age spirituality area that has moved away from that. So this should be a lot of fun. Firstly, would you mind giving us a quick summary of how you would describe some of the activities you were involved with? Variously, some people talk about cults, or I don't know if you prefer the term New Age spirituality, or if you have some other terms that you think are more appropriate.
I usually like to call it spiritual New Age, but that's because some people think that spirituality is one thing and New Age is another. And that can be true, but I think that the problem is that some spiritual ideologies very easily lead to New Age ideologies. So that's why I like to combine them. What I believe, and what I did, how do I explain it? It's just things that were very out there. So aside from energy healing, chakras, connecting with your guides, spirit guides, but not just like their spirit, but they're also angels, they were animal spirits, they were aliens. Like, it was very out there, basically. Everything science fiction, Star Trek, Star Wars, Matrix, all combined. Like, these things were all true to me. There were, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with David Icke and the reptilian people.
Yes.
I was very much into this as well. Had this idea that I had to save the world with my energy, with the love, with consciousness, with waking people up to their infinite potential, to activate their abilities. Like, it was really, really out to lunch. And so that's what also concerns me about it, is it can take people who are stable or just looking to struggling with their life, and it makes them want to escape reality and then even fight it make them even more unstable. So that's also why I've transitioned out of it. I started to see the harm it was doing, but before it was very hard to see. If that gives you an idea, if you have any questions that you want to ask about it, you're welcome to.
Don't worry, we have lots and lots of questions about that, Jessica.
Yes, so we can go longer than an hour. It's totally fine as well.
Good.
I wanted to let you know I have a cat that likes to meow, so you might hear him in the background.
Excellent. We'll look forward to that too.
Okay. So, go on. Oh no, I lost the sound for some reason. Wait.
Okay,
it's good.
We can't hear Seamus, so I'll ask Seamus's question. He was just describing not so much your, the spirituality beliefs that you were just discussing, Jessica, but more your route out of that. Can I ask, was it a long process over time when you gradually lost some of those beliefs, or was there a light bulb above your head moment when it all happened at once?
Okay, so it wasn't just my spiritual New Age beliefs I had to shed, but before that I was raised in a cult that was a combination of Christianity, Judaism, and Jehovah's Witness.
Okay, wow.
So I also had that, and really I find that it is religion is more organized and structured, and that was a cult, that one. But spiritual New Age is not. Spiritual New Age is it's a buffet of whatever beliefs you want. So I identify with the flat Earth. Instead I'm more drawn to the hollow Earth. So you really build it however you like and create yourself in whatever form that suits you. So you can be as out there as you want, or neutral. Like I said, like some people choose to just stick to yoga and meditation and maybe a vegetarian diet, and then it turns into vegan to raw foodist to breatharian, and where the whole objective is for your butthole to close up. Yeah. Okay, well, so your question. So aside from, I had an aha moment, but it wasn't enough. I would have to say that it was a very long, lengthy, painful process, and I'm still working on it now. It's very difficult to challenge the indoctrination that I did to myself and the conditioning that I also received from my father. Because I actually got the spiritual New Age ideas mostly from my dad. Okay. At a very difficult time in our life, and so when you've conditioned yourself all the time for a long time, it's very, very difficult to catch all of it. It's very easy to fall back into old patterns. Even religious things like the man must come first in a relationship. You have to catch yourself all the time and be attentive to, oh, I just need to be positive all the time, or oh no, I'm afraid of this thought. It's negative. And these are these kind of things that you have to catch all the time. So, and aside with that, it's your identity. It's your job. It's everything that you know. You have to question and challenge. So you start to not trust what you think, what you feel, because you know how good you are at convincing and manipulating yourself to go back to your old familiar ways. The one little epiphany I had, or aha moment, that was brief but not enough to get me to snap out of it. I don't know if you guys saw my trailer, but it's the animation sequence is actually a true thing that happened when I was in Madrid, Spain. I actually, after finishing this conference, everyone was looking at me like I was an angel, and I was so uncomfortable. Like I had this Twilight Zone moment. And I realized they're not seeing me, and I have to kind of get them to snap out of it. So my idea, as being the lady I am, decided to do a loud burp, really epic one, with arms out and everything for like 3 seconds. And then I just decided to point to my translator and say it was him, because I knew they saw it was me. So my translator was like, no, it was you, Jess. And I was just about to say, yes, of course. But right before that happened, I heard, how dare you accuse Jessica Mystic of such a thing? It was you, you pig. And they were just so angry at him. And I was just so shocked. Like, but they saw me do it. Why do they refuse?
It's a great animation, Jessica. I have to
Yes.
say, when I watched it, I come from a Roman Catholic background, and I certainly recognized some people in my former congregation who were in the audience in that animation. So there's a lot of people from a Catholic background who find it very difficult to disagree with someone if they're wearing a dog collar and standing on the altar of a Catholic church. So I don't think those experiences are necessarily limited to New Age groups at all.
But that's incredible how we create a whole new memory. If, say, the Pope or someone that we admire has such a authority over us, and they do something, we just forget that happened.
Yeah.
Or we just create a different story in our head. That's absolutely fascinating and scary. It was so scary for me. But I didn't think it was my beliefs were the problem at the time. I just thought I just don't like that people don't see me fully as I am. So, but that wasn't the thing that made me snap out of it. The thing that made me snap out of it was meeting Diego Fonteneve of the EOF Project.
Mm-hmm.
I met him in Bali, Indonesia. When I was there for the End of the World 2012 shift, I was trying to set up some spiritual workshop. And I was doing couch surfing with him. And he's the first person I talked to in a long time that wasn't spiritual. And he just started to ask me questions like, who are you without your beliefs? Can you think outside your beliefs for just for a minute? You know, are you sure you're helping? All these things created real cracks within me, because as strong as my beliefs were, the idea that if I wasn't helping, if I was causing harm, was definitely the game changer for me. That was it. I knew that I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I continued on. I had a responsibility. I knew I couldn't continue on like many people can when I've talked to them about it, or just disappear and beat myself up. I knew I had to like face it and try to tell people about what I found out. So. Yeah,
and then in a kind of spooky small world type of a way, I actually know Diego a little too. So he's on the board of Atheist Alliance International.
Yes, that's.
Yeah, so his time on the board was starting just as mine was finishing. So I think I was only in a few of the board meetings, which are normally done by Skype. So I was on a few of the board meetings with Diego. So I only know him a little. I don't mean that to try and say something spooky to Seamus and turn him into a New Age mystic. It's just a small world, I guess.
That's all it takes. No, I didn't know that you were also on the board. That's interesting.
Yes, small world.
I was going to be on it as well, but at the time they had too many Canadians and females, so they decided to take him.
That was an issue during my time as well. It's I think they have limitations on both country and region, so they can only have so many people from North America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and try and spread it around the world a little.
Yep, but that's how they work. That helps them out, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So you guys can hear me now, I take it?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. I just want to make sure. Sorry, I had a little technical problem on my end.
That's okay. You had a question?
Yeah, well, before we go on much further, I'm kind of curious, though, about some of the tenets and dogma of your past life, so to speak. It kind of sounds like, I mean, you refer to as New Age, and also kind of sounds very Hermetic-based or Crowley, even if I would suggest. Am I fair to make that claim, or what would you say?
Well, I don't know enough of those to say, but what I find is that it's a combination of so many beliefs in one. It really is something where you don't, why choose? They're all saying the same thing. It's all about love and stuff like this. So let's just embrace them all. So I'm not surprised. I know that spiritual New Age steals from everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of Hindu mysticism going on, and so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the nature of religion, though, is to always absorb other cultures and whatever's, hot to make work their own, right? So that kind of makes sense.
South American shamans, they have the South American shamans too. They take, the shamanic journeys with ayahuasca. So as many different cultures, yes, they can take it. And then also, there even the Australian Aboriginals, they try to take stuff from. I've seen, of course, multi-dimensional things. They even want things from intergalactic, so interdimensional, wherever.
Very Scientology.
Yeah, actually, that's very interesting too, because I recently did an interview with an ex-Scientologist, and I also I've watched the documentary Going Clear.
Yes.
And also recently the Emmy Award-winning series with Leah Remini, I Told You in the Aftermath, and I just see how similar it is to what I used to believe. I think Scientology is an organized version with a leader of what I used to believe, because I remember back when I was believing all these things that I met a Scientologist, and I was talking to him about my wisdom, and he was really upset. He's like, how can you know this? I paid so much. It's not fair. You didn't pay anything, and yet you have all this information. So you really you set it up within yourself, basically. I don't know, and the information's online everywhere too, and a lot of people are now talking about it and looking for people who are interested in it, whereas Scientologists, it's very private and secluded, right? It's only through their special books and special teachings, and they're not allowed to look online.
Well, it also seems kind of, a lot of times you'll talk to somebody that, has been through something, religious-based. I mean, we've talked to dozens of people with stuff, but you pretty much were, and maybe you can hopefully correct me, you were pretty much a spokesperson for this religion, this idea, at least?
I was a spokesperson, I was a guru, as a leader, as a teacher,
So, I mean, as you said, that it seemed like guilt played a huge role in you coming out, so to speak. Or waking up, as I'd rather say. So.
But funny enough, guilt also played a huge role of getting me into this to begin with, or even being a leader of it.
Yeah.
Because I told you that it started with my dad, but actually, I said that it was a traumatic time. My sister died when I was 16.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that.
And it's all right. And then shortly after my sister died, my father started to get have strokes. And then he started to claim that he could speak to beings in other dimensions, and that he could speak to my sister, and she's not really dead, and she's, transitioned to work with us on the other side to build a bridge, and that I was chosen for this great mission and things like this. And I was very upset with him, because this is not what I needed. I mean, I'm struggling with the loss of my sister, and him having strokes made it that he wasn't able to work. And I really just wanted, I was 16 at the time. My sister was 19. Wow. I really wanted just a normal life and a normal dad. And my dad just kept going on and on about dimensions and aliens and corrupt government. And he didn't read anything. I think maybe, I don't know where it came from. Maybe he spoke to someone or something when I try to figure out it now. I think what he had was a transient stroke. But I didn't know that at the time that this was influencing him in this way, because he was trying to convince me that it was real. And the more he just would always talk to me about it, and then he would talk to others at my work, and then some people were into this information as well, because at the time it was quite taboo and underground, and now it's everywhere. But so people would give me videos and books about the things that my dad was talking about, and it looked like the universe was trying to tell me something. But I just became more and more angry, because I was actually quite skeptical at the time and rational. And so I just was so angry with my dad that on Christmas Day I said something really horrible to him. I said basically, I don't know if I should say it, I said it in some interviews, but I said, I hate you, why don't you die already? And shortly after, he died.
Good grief.
And yeah, so my dad was also trying to tell me at the time that our thoughts create reality. You have to be very careful with your words. They become your actions, and they become your life, your destiny. And so I felt, of course, horrible, and I totally blamed myself. And this is something still I have to try to overcome, because this pattern comes up at times, because it was my motivation factor. And I wanted to be close with my dad. And I realized I actually was very close with my dad, but he was just trying to help me in the way he knew how. Mm-hmm. And I felt I had to make it up to him. And somehow I got this kind of message that I thought was from my dad's guides, but it was clearly just me trying to comfort myself that maybe this was supposed to happen to help my dad transition, mm-hmm. In order to continue on his work, that he needed to go on the other side, and that, I was, even though I said in a harsh way, what I really said is, it's okay, you can go now, we'll be fine. Mm. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to make my dad proud on the other side, and I'm going to take on his work. And that's how it actually happened. Yeah. And I started to make videos online and look for other people who had similar experiences. I was really adamant about finding people who had something similar that could have something similar happen to them to prevent what happened to me. If that makes sense, was I clear?
Yeah. And okay. It sounds like an incredibly traumatic and emotional way to get involved with that kind of world, Jessica. Did that make it more difficult when you took a new direction? Did you have relationships with other people in the New Age spirituality world that suffered?
Yes, I would say it definitely made it a lot more difficult to transition question, because not only if I'm harming people, but what was really going on with my dad, mm-hmm. right? Was he just really sick? Was he not saying the truth? So to have to let go of these ideas and stories I've been telling myself such a long time that motivated me, and relationships I had that suffered. Well, I'm not sure if you're also talking about romantic relationships. I only had one, and it turned out to be quite abusive, and it was it's more so psychologically abusive, I would say, not physically. Maybe at the end a little bit. That was the end. That's when I left. But it was also this idea that my soul chose this relationship that I'm supposed to change him with, my energy, my light, love. Like many girls think they get with a guy that's not the right kind, and they're like, oh, but he'll change for me, right? So stuff like this. But he started to just exploit me and my followers. And I was really frustrated because my beliefs I was promoting as the answer to everything, the solution to everything. So why weren't they helping with this relationship? Why it was making it worse? Because you're supposed to be forgiving and loving, but that just amplifies it and makes them continue on doing what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, that was definitely affected. And that's actually around the time where I just decided I was going to get as far away from him as possible and go to Asia. Literally. And then that's where I went to Bali and then at Diego. But
back up 1 second though.
Yeah.
You were where before Asia?
No. What do you mean? I was suspicious.
Okay, no. I mean, you were in this relationship with this guy and you decided to leave and you went to Asia. My question is, where were you when you left for Asia?
Oh, I was in Toronto, Canada at the time.
Holy shit.
Yeah, as far away from him as I could, literally. That's what I mean. Yeah, but I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada.
That's the new high for the definition of piss off, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I tried to break up with him many times, and it just wouldn't work, and I just felt quite weakened after a while, like drained, so I had to do something really dramatic and drastic. Hi, Q. Q is here. Named after the Star Trek douchey god.
Oh. Hey,
excellent. I like Q.
Q is awesome.
Well, he kept messing with everyone.
That's true.
But he was fun.
Yeah, he was fun.
What is the actor's name? I can't remember now.
I don't remember either.
He came out really strong on the side of science. And stuff,
that's true. Yes, I remember that.
Oh, goddamn! I can't remember his name. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I would wonder, though, by naming him this, if he would be like, that's why he is this way. He's exactly like this character. He's just constantly making, he's funny, but he's just such a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Is that omniscient, all powerful, or anything else? Is he?
Well, yeah, he could be all powerful and omniscient too.
In his own world, right?
He really is everywhere. No matter where I look, he's suddenly there. So.
Yeah, my friend Michael in Atheist Ireland has a lot of cats, and he always says that dogs have owners, but cats have staff.
Yeah.
So that sounds about right.
It's accurate. Very accurate.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jessica.
One other thing I wanted to add about how this affected relationships, also followers and friends. I started to see them becoming more and more unstable. I saw them also ending up in abusive relationships because of what their beliefs were telling them, that authority idea, or being exploited, or some friends that were being molested by guys, and if they protested, well, you're being negative, you don't want me to heal you, I'm just healing those chakra areas. And so the girl, of course, doesn't want to be negative, and so these are, I started to see these things happening, and I just became very, very uncomfortable with this. Now people will say, well, there's bad things in every belief, but we're allowing it with our belief, which is also the problem. Mm-hmm. It's not about that there's bad things in everything, but if it makes us less critical and less questioning and just embracing everything, or being so afraid to be negative or to think or question, then we have a problem.
Yeah, that's true, and that's also something that aligns quite well with Catholicism. Of course, lots of Catholic priests who have abused their position of spiritual authority, as they would see it. Let me ask you a quick question, just on that comparison between your spiritual background in New Age spirituality as compared to mainstream religions. So here's a good example. On Twitter recently, there's a Catholic group in Ireland called the Religious Teachers Association of Ireland, and they're just that, the association of all the religion teachers. And they have a new numeracy program. So they tweeted something out about how they're using numeracy in religion classes. And I made a rather glib and obvious joke along the lines of Jesus had 5 loaves and 2 fish and 5,000 people came to tea. How much food did everyone get? And a Catholic priest responded and said, enough to bring them into a new realm. So my question is, what's the difference between the Catholic priest talking about the new realm and someone who's going to read my aura or cure my illness with energy crystals? Do you see a difference between those, Jessica, or do you think they all belong up on the same shelf?
Well, I think they each have their own idea of what the realm is. And ideas are not reality. And for example, the Catholic priest idea of that realm will definitely have Jesus as the authority, and God, of course. And with spiritual people, they'll have, you name it, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So that will be the difference, I would say.
I quite agree. Actually, I think. I don't know if it was Michael Shermer who came up with this term, but he was the first person that I started to hear talking about woo-woo. He always talks to Deepak Chopra and calls Deepak Chopra's beliefs woo-woo. I have to say, I don't really see a huge qualitative difference between much of Catholicism and some of the stuff that Deepak Chopra would talk about. You mentioned angels earlier on. There's Catholic teachings about angels, and then it gets worse. They talk about exorcisms and demons and moving statues and apparitions.
We have all of that in our as well. We have exorcisms as well, removing dark entities, removing alien implants, moving objects with your mind, telekinesis, and stuff like this. So, I think also that I found there were 2 different types. There were the ones who know that it's a scam. I think some Catholic priests know that it's a scam, and they just milk it for all it's worth. And this is where the abuse comes in and stuff like this, and don't tell or you'll anger God, and so to get away with it. But then there's also the category of people that really believe. And I was in that category. I really believed. I convinced myself, and then I was able to convince others. So everyone's like, wow, she's so sincere. So when I now deal with people from my past, they're like, so you were lying? And I'm like, no, I convinced myself that, and I didn't know I was lying. And I think that happens a lot. A lot of people just hear something over and over again, and if you hear it over enough, you start to believe it. So I think that's also plays a part too.
So whenever you left the religion, we've, like I said, we talked to the Clergy Project, we've talked to other people, and of course, we all have our own, as far as people who have left religion, we have our own little, analogies and stories we share about the experiences of different things that we weren't allowed to do, or you wouldn't allow yourself to do under said religion. Some, experience, we were allowed to drink, certain food, drink certain beverages, eat certain foods, have certain experiences. Was there anything that was forbidden under the dogma that you lived of, that once you were out, you experienced and was like, oh, how could I have, denied myself this whole time, or that you remember particularly among others?
That's a good question. It wasn't so much that it was forbidden, these things, but it was just that it wasn't good for your vibration, that you would be more attracted to negative stuff. So things like alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, meat, because you have to eat like vegetarian, or like I said, raw food, or vegan, things like really high energy. Maybe also just associating with people who only believed what you believed as well, which was very similar to the cult I was raised in too. You're only allowed to hang out with people, from the church. And so I just remember particularly like eating meat again, because I was and eating food and not caring if it was organic or not, because it got to be such a religion for me. So much anxiety every time I was about to eat something. Is there chemicals in this? GMO. I'm hurting the animals by eating, their flesh, and I'm just so glad to not have that stress anymore, because we have such an unhealthy obsession with health. My cat doesn't care a bit. Like, he doesn't struggle when he's eating meat, and I've seen people try to push their cats and their dogs to eat vegetarian because they think that's high vibration and better for them, or force colonoscopies on their children every day because they think that's the way to keep them healthy. And you see, it just goes really just out there. To the point that it becomes very dangerous. Of course the animals get sick. Of course the kids get sick. Because we become so extreme about it, so afraid about every little thing. And we're like that with germs too. So it's,
good point.
It just depends how strict you are. I mean, in some ways I felt I had to be strict because I was a teacher, so I was an example. So, I should walk my talk as best I could. Yeah.
So let's talk about the movie, the documentary film, Jessica. It sounds like a hugely impressive project, but I have to say it also sounds like an enormous amount of work that I don't envy you. How are you finding it so far?
So we're in the pre-production stage. The title is Memoirs of a Former Mystic. Caution, too much love and light will make you sick. So there's a part in the trailer where I'm puking out a rainbow with sprinkles and stuff like this. And it's comical, but it's actually it's disturbing too, because I'm saying this stuff made me sick and I'm still struggling from it. So the pre-production stage, it was a lot of work, because you have to figure out the treatment, you have to figure out the script, you have to figure out a whole bunch of things, how you want to film, and the pre-production trailer as well, which is the reason it's called that, is it's meant to it's made particularly for investors, and production companies and things like this. I'm not shy though of a lot of work. I'm okay with it. I see it as an adventure. I'm excited because we want to travel, go to different locations. I want to go back to the places where I went, where I was, considered people's leaders, and I want to talk to people there to see what they think now, and I want to talk to other believers. What I really want to do, though, with it is I want it to be like the never-ending story concept, in which you think you're just watching a story about me, but it's actually, I'm talking about everyone. I'm talking about you, the viewer. I want people to see their own patterns through me. And I know my concepts are very bizarre and out there, but the patterns are the same of how we deceive ourselves, how we manipulate ourselves. These mind traps that we set up, the biases, the confirmation biases as well. And so I want people, I'm also going to make it a little bit interactive as well, with a little bit of quizzes and challenges and things like this as well. I want to also do something like a reverse Alice in Wonderland concept.
Oh, say a little bit more about that, Jessica. That sounds really interesting.
Say a bit more about it. So basically, I don't know if you guys are familiar with movies like What the Bleep Do We Know? It's a documentary.
Yes.
Someone's here to visit. Say hi, Chuku. Q. Okay.
He's got a cool white mustache.
Yeah, he does actually have a white Persian too. She has a little gray mustache. It's really cute.
Excellent.
So let's see. So in What the Bleep Do We Know? It's basically this girl who's in let's say reality, and then she goes more and more into the quantum realm, right? So I want to kind of show people what it's like to be living for a long time in Alice in Wonderland, backwards, upside down reality, where there's all this magic, everything's possible. But in some ways you're drunk, you're blind, and you're trying to function and drive, psychologically, manage your life while making your decisions through all these existential ideologies and irrational fears. Right, because you just invent all these strange fears, like, oh, these entities. What if these entities are nearby watching me, and then you get all paranoid about it, or what if the Illuminati sees that I'm conscious and I'm waking up, and they're trying to stop? Oh yeah, we struggle with stuff like that all the time. I remember, and people contacting me because I was also an advisor and a healer, and people are always claiming I healed this and I did that, and so it felt very overwhelming. But I'm going off topic.
No, it's interesting.
So. I basically want to kind of show being in that magical realm and the result, and just being sort of like drunker, and then being sober. So transitioning into reality. So the magic and all these ideals fade away because we see the problems that happen with them.
Yeah.
To the point that we have now, like, people ask me what it's like, and I would have to say that it's like being sober for the first time in a long time. I in the trailer, I called myself a drug dealer, and that's something that Diego pointed out to me, and it was like, huh? But I've never done drugs in my entire life, and this is something I've always been proud of. And so that's very, very strange. And challenging, too, because in a way, like, it can be, the drugs make you happy, right? Alcohol makes you happy. A little bit of alteration and things like that. Yeah, it's all with your drinks. So to maintain a kind of happiness as well in reality, I think is hard for people who are believers. That's why I remember when I would meet atheists in this kind of mind frame, I just felt, you poor people, I feel so sorry for you. You have no magic, no wonder. You don't think you're going anywhere after you die. You don't think about any beings that love you and are looking after you. They have absolutely no life, these beings, of course. They have nothing better to do but just to stalk you and monitor you all the time in hopes to give you some advice if you reach out to them or try to save your life or whatever. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, what the heck?
That's a really interesting idea. I never thought about it that way. To put yourself into God's shoes or a God's shoes is to think about how empty their lives must be. That the only thing they have to do is like look over this little herd of creation and kind of live vicariously. I mean, it's much like we had a guest, Glass was on. He wrote a book and he talks about this inferred parental movement through God, a God model, where basically the God is a parental figure.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense that, this parental figure to care over you makes you feel better, especially if you're a parent. And, well, my kids are away at school. I know that God will take care of them. Another surrogate,
Right.
father child or mother child will take care of them. And that's a really interesting idea, though, as to what this, being really lives through, right? That's kind of a sad outlook if you think about it, that their whole life or existence is carrying through these little minions they've created or puppeted around. That's a pretty heavy idea. I never really thought about it that way. Heavy. Well, I'm sounding like a real hippie now.
That's okay. And you're also so nervous about your creations touching themselves. No.
Right. Yes.
No. I must make them suffer forever. But I don't know, the concept of God now is just, when we think about it, I mean, if it is the God of the Bible, then this God has to be absolutely psychotic and crazy.
Yes.
Or like he just the Garden of Eden, the tree of good and evil, don't touch this tree, don't touch the fruit, and the Ten Commandments. And it seems like, well, first of all, the Ten Commandments, he's broken every single one of them, so he's a hypocrite. He's like, no, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. Listen to me, right?
Exactly.
And I just, like, if he's all-knowing God, does he not understand reverse psychology? Because clearly, don't touch this tree, don't break these 10 Commandments. That's pretty tempting. And also, I don't know, if we think that maybe there is a God. I'm okay if there is a God. It's not going to change me or make me be like, oh my gosh, I need to praise and worship it, because I think it's very sick for a being to ask to be praised and worshipped.
Sure.
Maybe the God is like a indifferent sea turtle. It just lays its eggs and leaves them to their own thing, doesn't care. So we just get so caught up on this idea of God and what it wants from us that we let this be an authority, and we don't realize it's just an idea thinking for us, particularly by the information that we collect, that we read, or that we hear from other people or from priests and things like this, or this idea of when we die and when we talk about heaven. Heaven sounds to me like hell now.
Right?
To be with all, so first of all, to be with God, and he's like weird stalker. I don't want to be with this person, this being, or judging you all the time, or I don't know, just boring, just being in paradise all the time, not challenged, not growing, or just being with all the people that have passed away now, and maybe you didn't get along with those people that that died, and you have to, like, it's like an awkward Christmas family gathering, where you try to get along with them, but it's just...
Yeah. How are you going to feel if, according to Christian dogma, if Hitler asks for forgiveness, he's in heaven. So if you were a Jew that converted to Christianity after Auschwitz, right, then you end up in heaven and you happen to walk past Hitler, how are you not going to lose your fucking mind? Right?
I was going there too, because I get really disturbed when I hear about serial killers like Manson converting to Christ. It's like, so on their deathbed, these crazy people are converting and they're going to be in heaven. I don't want them. This is very uncomfortable. I don't want to be there. Like, it's...
Yeah, I mean, how do you really get around that? I mean, it's like you're on a cloud, you're walking by, and it's like, hey, how you doing? Like, you know? Yeah, that's me. Oh, it's okay. I like that guy on the cross. The Jew? Yeah, I came around to his ideas. It was okay. Yeah, just about 3 seconds before I put a bullet through my head. It's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want, get away with whatever, as long as you embrace Christ, it's fine. You don't even have to mean it. You just have to look like you care.
Right. It's wow.
And then the Muslim heaven as well. Like, is it really a heaven to be with however many virgins? What is it, 79 virgins? Imagine the old...
72, of course, what isn't it? It's not actually virgins, it's fruit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's all kinds of misconceptions about what it is. We had a guest on that it wasn't virgins, it was fruit. I talked to somebody else here recently online. This is a whole other topic, but they said it's a whole other thing. It's actually the 72 whatever, because it's not specified. You are the servant to them, because the idea is that you must walk the line for them for 72 before you find nirvana. So again, it's all up to, we'll spin the bottle on what, back to what you're saying about bias and confirmation. Nobody bullshits you like you bullshit you, right?
Exactly. The stories we tell ourselves, the stories we let ourselves be convinced of.
Right.
And what that leads to. But I mean, just what you were saying about if this is just a small misunderstanding, which I'm not surprised at all, because it's not possible even for information to be written such a long time ago. We're familiar with the children's game telephone, right? How things get distorted so quickly. I mean, we're talking about thousands of years, but just in a room of just with a few people, and we whisper something and it's become something totally different. But I just think for all these extremists out there, I mean, they're good, when they die, they're going to be like, what? No virgins, just fruit? or fine, they're slaves. Or if they do have virgins, would you really want women fight, like all these women fighting over you, or imagine them all on their period? Like, not heaven at all.
Yeah.
So we have to think about this, what all these stories we tell ourselves, and a lot of times we don't really consider it. I think we have protection mechanisms like viruses. There maybe is a folder on your computer that says love, and you're like, or nice family memories, like, oh, I'm not going to touch that. There's no virus. The virus can't possibly be there. So it requires us looking into things that we are very fond of, that because we identify with what we're fond of. So let me give you an example. I found out recently that the reason why it's so difficult to talk to people who are believers. So because when I made my videos to try to talk to my followers, they basically turned on me and were absolutely furious with me. I was a traitor. Wow. Suddenly, I was a liar. I was evil. I was brainwashed by Diego. He was also like some Illuminati handler stuff. Like, it was really intense.
Well, it's in his name almost. Diablo and Diego. It's pretty close, man.
Or Diego.
Right.
Yeah. And he looks like, come on, he's such a...
I know. That's what I was going to say. I'm glad you could say it. I was going to say it. I thought I'd be the line. Put a couple hooves on that guy. Come on.
He doesn't look evil at all. What are you talking about? He has strange pictures with teddy bears everywhere. Yeah, but you should have seen his couch surfing photo. He had these lovely big yellow eyes. It's like creepy, okay. But I'm like, I looked at his.
If I looked at like him, I would dress up like Pan every fucking Halloween. That's all I got.
Yeah. Oh, he loves this look. He's just completely sticks to it all the time, like this kind of rock star with a business suit going around, spiking the hair up every day. Doesn't like to go out in the rain. So nervous.
Like either side, right? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe horns at some point. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some people were like, "Oh no, he has horns." Yeah, they have such a problem with his photos with yellow eyes, though. He's like, "Are you racist?" And he's like, "No, I'm not racist. So why would you have a problem with a person with yellow eyes?" Because our association we have that it's evil. But okay. Going back to what I was saying, I found out recently that the reason it's so difficult to talk to a believer about what they believe, having them challenge it or question it, is that when we do this, the part of the brain that is activated is actually the part that is where they physical threat. Like the same parts will light up that, like if you're being attacked by a bear. And so they really take it. The reason is they take it personal. They identify with their beliefs so much. They don't realize that they weren't born with these beliefs. It's not who they are. Like I had to realize, we have to really separate them. Because when you talk to a person about their beliefs, they're like, immediately they think you're talking about them. But they're not. You're not. Mm-hmm. So this is very important for people to understand so they can become less defensive and also closed off so you can't really speak to them or get through to them in any way. They just, shut down. Don't you dare.
I would argue that it's a bigger issue than that. Are you familiar with death denial?
No, tell me.
So the idea is, there's a book. It's called Death Denial by Ernest Becker. And I could send you some links here after a bit. The idea is that we're sentient beings. We are one of the few that, the human condition is a human condition for a reason. We know from very early on that we have an expiration date. At some point, we're going to die. Yes. Literally every day we are dying. Mm-hmm. So to get past that obsession of death every day, we obsess, because that's what we do, about different things. and they are usually cultural things that, we can share with other like-minded beings. So religion is one of those. Nationalism is another. Those kind of things, if you live, you were in Canada. Where did you live in Canada?
Vancouver, British Columbia is where I'm from.
Okay, so, being a Canuck fan, right, would be maybe one of them, right? So whenever I would pick on the Canucks and say that they're a shit team, that they have never won the Stanley Cup, they only made it there 1 year, and they lost to a shit team in Boston that, shouldn't have beaten the Penguins, right? That kind of thing. That could get you riled up if you're a Canucks fan. If I picked on your religion,
sure,
or that I took a shit on Canada, it's going to get you pissed off. Why? Maybe not so much now. I don't know. But for some people, that's why, because we ingrain ourselves in those things. Because that is something that we keep our mind from obsessing about death. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I see what you're saying. I do know that we are the only species that seems to know that we're going to die. And I think animals maybe just know that there's danger and they try to stay safe. But we actually know that we're going to die, and we're afraid of it. And so, we're looking to distract ourselves in any way or tell ourselves whatever story to comfort where we can go or what will happen. And yes, I would say that a religious belief or a belief of a sport as is something that we can be a religion as well, that we can be threatened if a person challenges it. I'm glad you have mentioned about politics as well and nationalism, patriotism,
yes,
because this is a big issue with atheists and skeptics. So they're not religious, but you talk to them about nationalism, immediately, or certain politics, and this is the same pattern in another package. And we need to look at it because, again, if we shouldn't be offended. Like, I don't care about the Canucks, and that's cool, but I know I'm not from. Even if I'm from there, I know I'm not. Again, why should I identify with where?
Who's your hockey team then? Come on, goddammit.
I don't really have a hockey team. I've never been. But no, but it's a really good experiment though to see cares about, and just kind of maybe just talk a little bit of smack about it, just to see why are you reacting to this? Why are you? Again, but what is the key to it? It's the personal identification. So a person might like the Canucks, but they're not personally identified to it. This is why people start crying when their favorite team fails the match. This is also how we use our emotions to manipulate us. And this is also something I want to talk about in my documentary. It's also something we talk about in the project as well, to be logically emotional. Because a woman crying because she feels Jesus in her heart, okay, maybe these emotions are real, but the concept of Jesus in her heart is an invention. But we let our emotions convince us that this is why this experience is true. Mm-hmm. And we get really caught up with truth and evidence. So I'm really concerned that if God is real, some skeptics or atheists I've heard said, okay, I will transition then I will believe. We don't have to. Okay, God is real, so what? We shouldn't let it affect our lives. And we should go on living our life. Otherwise, I really think not only do we self-destruct, but we also destroy we're destroying the planet because of our beliefs in God.
Right.
This idea that we are, and spirituality, New Age does this all the time, we're most important. Our planet, our species is more important. We're the center of the universe. All the aliens are watching and looking out for us. God gave us this planet, and therefore we can do with it whatever we want. If we want to sacrifice, if we want to test on animals or whatever. So these kind of ideologies are so dangerous, and we need to see that we're doing this sort of gamble with ourselves. I have to make sure I stay on track because it's so easy to get going from tangent to be like, wait, what?
I didn't mean to get all dogmatic about the whole death denial, but I think that's a pretty solid theory.
I think so too. No, totally.
Yeah, we've talked about it before because I'm pretty much invested in it, but try not to be sold on entirely and bullshit myself again. Again, leading to the other side of you're right. We talk about mockery, though, which leads to the other side of this, which, again, if you mock a certain belief, people will get upset. I mean, it's like if I said, if you drink the blue liquid in the Magic 8 Ball, you guys all remember that, right?
Yeah.
The Magic 8 Ball, right? So if you drink the liquid in the blue, the blue liquid in the Magic 8 Ball, you will see your future. Trust me, my friend Keith did it. He said he was going to die, and he did.
That makes it
So,
true.
right. So, but it's still a bit of mockery, right? So I know that part of your documentary was a little bit of mockery, as we alluded to before, about the belching and such. So I know you've got a lot of backlash from mocking things, so to speak. But isn't that part of this process, though, to making it important to realize that religion should never be above mockery?
I mean, people who are believers, they have a hard time with having a sense of humor when it comes to mocking their own beliefs. Or there are people who can make fun of it, but yet they'll still continue to believe it. So mockery is meant to make us question. And actually, blasphemy is very healthy. It's a therapy. And that's why the Italians invented it, and they became so damn creative with it. Porcodios and things like this. That's the Italian I learned from Diego.
That's great.
And other kinds. It's absolutely important to make fun of ourselves. So yes, that's another aspect of my documentary. I really wanted to make fun of myself and how ridiculous I was, because that is what really helped me to snap out of it, to say. And I liked how I didn't want to do just another exposed documentary, because there are so many like that. I liked how James Randi, in his documentary, The Honest Liar, who I got to meet in Poland, by the way, 89 years old now, he, in The Honest Liar, he exposes the fakers, and I wanted to expose my fake self, and I wanted to think of if there are ways that I can make it, that I could do split screen where I interview my old self, or I don't know. I sometimes wish that time travel was real, so I could travel back in time and shake myself and be like, "What the heck are you doing?" and thinking. But I really think that nothing should be beyond being made fun of. I was talking about Canada. I was quite upset to find out that Canada had a blasphemy law.
Until recently? Then wasn't it repealed? Yeah.
It was repealed. That was absolutely great news. But it's very upsetting that we're making laws that you can't say certain things, but yet we say we have freedom of speech, because we're just protecting this belief, this allowing people to. So, for example, with Muslims, if you say something about the way they treat their women, or how that they kill apostates, you can't, because that's, if you try to use it in a playful way to get people to think like comedians do, you can't, because that now you're a hater, now you're racist, or whatever, Islamophobist or something like this. But if people are silent about it, like what's happening in some of the European countries that have a lot of immigrants, they have all these mosques, and now the Muslims are expecting people to convert to their ways. So the local women have to cover up, because if they don't, then they will be harassed and even beaten by the immigrant men that are there. Mm-hmm. So and that's because people are not allowed to talk about it or say anything. Like, you're not even allowed to be blasphemous, because that is you're hating, you're racist, all these things. And so blasphemy is absolutely important. We must protect this right at every possible way, and we must constantly challenge and make fun of the things that we used to believe in, and to laugh at ourselves.
Hear, hear.
Not take it so seriously, because there are so many serious things.
That's true.
So, I mean, skeptics, atheists have a bad rap, because a lot of people look at them as having no emotion. They're like cold, robotic, like Spock. They're too serious and stuff like this. So I really would like to challenge this stereotype as well.
I'll take that stereotype, though.
Yeah, you guys are really great examples of having lots of fun, and so.
I hope so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I know, some of the people we've come out with since you've walked away from the chakras and whatnot. Teal Swan comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to touch on her, or if there's others you want to mention, as far as people you look at since you walked away and kind of saw where they're at and said, well, I'm concerned about the people that follow this person, or this movement in itself is a really bad idea. I didn't know if you wanted to talk on any of that.
Yeah, sure, we can talk about her. This is where a lot of the websites and videos and comments, I mean, if I post a video on my YouTube channel, it usually gets, the first thing is a dislike. but it right away hit. Because I went after Teal Swan, who is has a huge following, but she is someone I am extremely concerned about. First of all, I got my red flags because when right before I met Diego, I met this other guy in Bali, Indonesia, and she was doing an interview with him. And I knew he was like a player. He's trying to seduce women all the time. He has multiple girlfriends, and he was even like trying to seduce me, and I was really uncomfortable with
Who's this guy again? I'm sorry.
His name is Sasha Stone. He has a eco community, so he attracts people by making it look like he's a humanitarian and like philanthropy projects where he's creating these conscious sacred geometry places where people can live and grow their own food off of the grid, stuff like this. But he's just a womanizer, and he treats them very poorly, and he just keeps like he could have like 10 different girlfriends at once, and he cheats on them all, and of course he does. But what really upset me about him was that I saw him making really derogatory comments about the underage girls as well. And then I found out later that he was involved in all this pornography and all these scams, scamming people of huge amounts of money. That was only way later on. But for me, so I knew this guy was just trouble and disgusting. And when I saw this interview he was doing with Teal Swan, they were talking about how she claimed that she was in a satanic cult, and that she had a lot of ritual abuse done to her. And she was talking about one of her roles, which was to lure children, to have them be burnt alive in front of her. And while she's telling this gruesome story in great detail, she's laughing and flirting and playing with her hair to Sasha. And they're flirting with each other. And if you try to question Teal Swan about her abuse allegations, her followers will go nanners on you. Because this is her ace card. Because how dare you question her? She's been through so much. She shouldn't have to prove any of this. But if you're laughing during such a story, I'm sorry. This is I call bullshit. And she also made these claims that that she was sewn inside a dead body. So this she's very
wow.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I think it was when she was a kid or something. But there's been someone went to the coroners, the morgue, to ask if this is possible, and they said it's physically impossible. And she talked about like having just a straw to breathe and stuff like this. And so she makes up these crazy stories, and they're so obvious that they're false, but the followers refuse to see it or admit it. And then she also tells her followers that it's perfectly okay to commit suicide. She has in the video, in my trailer, I used her video Spirituality 2.0, because in this video she talks about that it is to know if you're becoming more conscious and advanced, you can throw yourself in front of a train and the train will go right through you. Or you need to, when you are more conscious, the reason people get shot is because they're resisting a bullet. So if you don't resist a bullet, it won't go through you. But how does that work for animals or babies?
Wow.
It's so dangerous, and people are actually taking her advice and actually killed themselves because of her. She's like, well, you're not committing to life. And I had just people writing to me telling me about their horror stories with her and how she tried to talk them into suicide and things like this. So I was like, I have to speak out about this person. But it's just very difficult to get her followers to see something, because I'm immediately a hater, I'm jealous, because I didn't become as famous as her and all this stuff. I'm so glad I didn't become as famous as her. But it doesn't matter what I say, because they've made up their mind about me. So, but I really hope.
Then again, if you were as famous or even bigger, then maybe this would be a bigger walk away. I mean, I know what you're saying. I wish I didn't lead more sheep to slaughter, so to speak. But at the same time, maybe it would have been the other way. So I don't know. That's a coin to flip. I don't know. So I guess that's ignorant of me to even suggest that, because, you've lived a life that few have, and that's why it's even more interesting to talk to you. I mean, John and I have been on the other end of it. We went to church worshiping somebody and listening to, the Dogma and such, but at the same time you were kind of carrying that water. You know, it's two different roads.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I
or I'm
think
not wrong. You
I
know,
would walk away even if I was his biggest heel swan, because it's, for me, it's a matter of conscience. At the end of the day, I really want to know that I helped and made the world a better place, even though it seems and I still have this ideal, like the savior complex. I have to sacrifice myself for the greater good. I have to hold myself with this, but it's I just don't like the idea of spending our time and energy of however much time we have on this life, using it in the direction to make the planet even more messed up. Particularly if I have children one day, they're going to ask me about this time, because we're living in such a crucial time right now. We're really on the brink of the environment being really messed up. I mean, I think our best chance now is AI. I think that they're probably the only thing that can maybe really help us now, but we'll see. I don't really know. But it's really sad. And so if I have children one day, they're going to ask me about what I do during this time. I don't want to tell them I did nothing or I made it worse because I was refusing to look at, my biases, or I was catering to delusions and things like this. I can't live with myself, There has to be something that we can do that's productive, that can really help. And from what I've seen, critical thinking is really the best way to go. And what I like so much about the EOF project is it takes it a step further. It's not just critical thinking, but it's also, okay, what is critical thinking? What can we do to improve it? So how about memetics, metacognition? I also like that we talk about the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Are you guys familiar with the Dunning-Kruger Effect?
Yes. So that's the most incompetent people are so incompetent that they don't know that they're incompetent.
Yeah, that's it. Meta-ignorance. It's what I find so interesting about it is it really is also a big issue of how we delude ourselves. We convince ourselves, we get confident about something. We're so sure we're right, and we don't bother to question it. And the example I like to use is we have a whole experience working at a job where we have this boss that is so full of himself, and he expects everyone to be sycophants to him, of course. And you see he's about to make a big mistake that could really affect the company, and you try to tell him something, and he's like, how dare you tell me what to do? I'm the boss. I got this education, and I have this experience and skills, and who are you? You're nothing. So they have this confidence because they're the boss that they can't make mistakes, but they can, and they do. And the fact that you can't even tell them because you're not that high up on the ladder or whatever is a serious problem. So they're finding that a lot of people who claim to be professionals, there's actually a lot they don't know about their job because they pretend to be, they think they're so confident, they think they know that they actually don't know. And this is something that's happening in our world because of social media as well. We like to look a certain way. We like to look smart. We like to look happy, that rather than actually be it.
Yeah.
Or successful or whatever. We just, because what people think of us means more than how we actually live our life. It's very, very strange. And then with the Dunning-Kruger effect, we've also found out that the people that are so sure of when they see someone committing a crime, the criminal lineups that they have.
Yes.
They point someone out and, yes, I'm sure it was him. They're finding out that a majority of these people are absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
And all the innocent people that are in jail. That's because someone could have an experience with either someone that looks like you guys. Maybe your father that didn't treat them well, or they have a bias towards, and you're in the lineup. Yeah, it was him. Yeah, I know. And they don't realize that they're making this connection to that.
Yeah.
Well, the difference between somebody that's full of confidence and somebody is filling somebody with confidence as well, right? I mean, you have the confident man, and you have the con man, right? So in your example, you have somebody that is overconfident, that is spewing nonsense, and then you have the confidence man who is filling that person with confidence of their insecurities and their uncertainties about certain things to do or not do something that's going to benefit them. And I think that's just a distinction that needs to be made. And that's kind of something that some people can assert about certain leaderships and parts of the world, namely the U.S. So.
You know what? This is absolutely true as well. And I realized that this was one of the problems for me, that when I started to promote these messages that from my father, and I started making these videos, I got so much consensus and support and approval. People were like, I want you to come to this country. I even went to Ireland. And, you know,
nice.
I went to try to look for the fairies and stuff like that, connect with the nature spirits there. And I loved that about Ireland. I love the stories that the people tell at restaurants. There's people that just tell these amazing folklore stories. And,
I'd say there's no shortage of people who wanted to tell you about the fairies, I can imagine.
I know it's probably annoying for you guys.
You're talking about the boats, right?
Well, no, unfortunately, some of those people are currently in our parliament. So we have a member of our parliament. We have a member of our parliament, Jessica, who made a speech complaining about the quality of the roads in rural Ireland, and his diagnosis as to why the quality of the roads was deteriorating is that the roads authority was building too close to fairy hills, and they were making the fairies angry. And the fairies were coming out of Fairy Hills to destroy the road. So that's the quality of the debate in the Irish Parliament sometimes, which is a bit of a worry. But then our guys don't have nukes, Seamus, so we don't have to worry so much.
True. You just have to worry about the after effects of our assholes, that's all. So.
I heard that was actually happening in Iceland as well, that they wouldn't build roads in certain areas because they thought it would anger fairies, right. And they actually stuck to that. What I wanted to, I'll get to something about fairies too shortly, but first about this filling with confidence. So if people didn't encourage me like they did, if they said, hey, you know, are you sure about this? You know, maybe you should be a little bit more critical and you know, maybe you should look at this irrational guilt or all these kind of things. But it's really hard to question what you're doing if it is right when you have people just singing your praises. I had so much support and encouragement. And for me before, everything I did didn't work. I was horrible in school. I was too much of a dreamer to make a job work, to hold a job down. This finally works for me, and it seems like it's a sign that this is what I'm meant to do. And people are offering to cover all my expenses, to have me travel wherever, and, you know, pay me to do this. So, I mean, that's why it's so difficult. Like, you're surrounded by sycophants.
Yeah.
And so you don't get a chance to be critical. And I think this is also why celebrities also struggle too. Everyone, yes, everything you're doing is great. So they really lose themselves to this idea of they are the character rather than, and their work rather than who they are as a person. Going to fairies, I struggle still with this idea that I would like for fairies to be true. It's still there. I love this idea, and I have to ask myself, why am I sad if they're not true? If, again, like, how do I know that if they are real? How do I know if they are how I like to think they are as cute little girls? You know the movie The Labyrinth?
Yes.
There's that fairy, like, it bites me. What did you think a fairy would do? You know, I thought they only do good things. Well, it shows what you know. They're pests like mosquitoes. So I have to try to consider that, okay, even if these things are true, why are we so emotionally attached to it? Are we sure that it is what we think it is? Like, I think most likely there are aliens, but why do we have to think that they speak to us or that we can speak to them, or if we see a UFO going by, that they're sending a message to us, or they're where we're actually from? These are the things I used to think when these things, when people told me about it, or if I thought I saw a spaceship or a UFO or whatever. And it's like seeing a plane going by, and you're like, oh, they're totally connected to me, or, you know, they all acknowledge my existence here, and it's just so ridiculous. So you have to catch yourself in these things. So even if these things are true, it's not worth it to give our mind away to it, because I always get this. People are like, well, how can you just say all of it's not true? It's not just about evidence, because, again, even if we can prove it, even if it's true, are we going to give our life and our mind away to it? People have amazing high emotional experiences where they feel like one with everything. You can't tell them that's not true, because what they feel is true to them. But yet the problem is they try to recreate this experience to be a bliss zombie. Is that what we're meant to be? Like a bliss zombie, that we should be this 24/7? Again, are we supposed to be thinking and growing? No, we have this biasness and this discouragement to thinking. I saw one time on a church sign, it said, "Thinking is evil."
Wow.
So we make thinking into an enemy. And that's very disturbing. And people are so afraid of their mind that they self-destruct. They don't want to deal with themselves anymore. They don't know how to handle themselves. They're not taught how to handle their mind.
It's always interesting that, people like that are usually the ones that say, well, don't put out too much food for a dog because, the dog will just continually eat what's in front of them. Or, the same thing with a fish or whatever. They'll get to some sort of gratification over and over again. But yet, we're no much different, right? I mean, exactly what you're saying is the same thing.
We can overindulge very easily by one little experience. We create all these stories out of it. A person saves your life, so you think that they're your hero, and maybe they're also your soulmate. You're indebted to them. You must, do whatever you can for them. So you try to make a relationship work, but it's disastrous. So we have to always be careful of these little things, little cons we're playing with ourselves.
Well, I just in a short bit, I can understand why somebody would gravitate to you very quickly, because you have just a very keen insight on many different things. But anyways,
I just don't want to go back. I don't want to do it again.
No.
I see how I recreated the pattern with all these things, from the cult belief I had to the spiritual beliefs to even like skeptic. It's so easy to fall into this or that,
right.
Or even with relationships. I find it fascinating that we just recreate the same problems over and over again. Historically, our history is all about the same thing happening over and over again, and it's very sad. It's very embarrassing. And in our own personal lives, when you're trying to help people that are struggling, you're just hearing them make the same mistake over and over again, and all we have to offer is to help them cope after the damage has been done. But we don't have something for prevention. And again, EOF is trying to offer prevention to how can we be aware, okay, look, this is that same damn pothole. I'm not going to jump in it this time. I'm going to try to go around it. So I think it's just so important that we have evolution. We've evolved technologically, but not psychologically, not with our thinking yet.
So,
and I'm just doing the best I can. I'm just trying.
So I know you're the co-founder of the EOF, as it is, project. Going forward, what's the ultimate goals for that project?
Well, I pretty much said, but the other thing is education. We would like to bring it into as many education facilities as possible, because again, we need to know how to think and how to manage our mind at an early age, or even in colleges, universities, wherever we can. So that would be the ultimate goal, of course, to make the world more rational. And that's why I'm so on board with the skeptics atheist train. I want to assist in whatever way I can.
Well, the EOF project looks like a great contribution in that direction, Jessica. I'm conscious we're soaking up an awful lot of your time. Just before we let you go, would you be able to let people know where the best place is to connect with the EOF project? Is that on the website?
Yeah, okay, so if you want to get in touch with me, I have my website, jessicaschab.com. I'm now wanting to step away from the EOF a little bit and do my own thing.
Okay.
So I think that's important now, to see what I can apply on my own. Otherwise, it's very easy to rely off of Diego and the project. So it's more his thing, which has helped me tremendously, but I need to do something on my own now.
Sure.
And so the EOF project is EOFproject.org is the website. There's a Facebook group. There's a Facebook page. You can find us also on Facebook. I'll give you the link so you can put all this underneath the interview.
Yes, indeed.
And then I also have a Memoirs of a Former Mystic Facebook page and a website. And yeah, I think that's all of it.
Yeah, so we'll put all of those links down there and encourage people to check those out. And we'll also put your Twitter handle down there too, Jessica, and encourage people to follow you on Twitter. So listen, that's been really incredibly interesting, and the project, especially the movie, sound really fantastic. So The very, very best of luck with that, and many thanks again for your time today.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming
guys.
on.
Oh, thank you, both of you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed and appreciated it.
Great. That's
Thank you.
great. Thanks, Jessica. Take care.
Very well. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
There you go. So I think that was every bit as interesting as we anticipated, Seamus, and rather more emotional. Goodness, Jessica's background must have been quite traumatic for her. So all the more impressive that she's managed to achieve what she has.
Yeah, I honestly would have been happy talking another 2 hours. Easy. With her, just amazing person and amazing story. I don't want to say quite tragic because it sounds like there's a happy ending in her. So, but the one thing I get from her is that she's it's pretty easy to imagine that if again, you know, I want to say all of us have been under some sort of spell or, you know, dogmatic principle where we follow the light, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
If her voice is behind it, I would have followed it very easily.
Mm-hmm.
She's very convincing. She's very well spoken. You know, but I mean, and fortunately for us, she, you know, I know that sounds kind of dumb that she's now on the right side of things, but she is by the facts. You know, she really does have a good head on her shoulders. And seems to power through very well. So, there is hope.
Quite agree.
So okay. So that being said, folks, again, another wonderful episode by John and the guest, and I was along for the ride. So we're here now at episode almost 90 something.
Almost 90, yes.
Yeah, well, we'll say it's 90 something. Anyways. So we've come a long way, folks. So keep checking us out and hopefully check us out again more. Hit the subscribe button. If you hated our episode, then you need to hit the subscribe button. If you didn't hate the episode, check us back in a week. We'll piss you off anyways. Anyways, do that. We have a website, thefreethoughtprophet.com. We're also on Facebook where we post all kinds of awful things. And Twitter, my lovely brother there, John. You can find all the wonderful wisdom that he has to share and spew at John Hamill 151. You'll find myself at the FT Prophet. And until next time, remember the freedom of thoughts can only be given away, not taken away. Bye, everybody.
Bye, folks.